a well-known university, there was a young student who struggled with a habit that many of us can relate to. He couldn't stop overthinking. Whenever someone criticized him, he replayed their words in his mind over and over. If he made a mistake, he dwelled on it for days, unable to move forward. His mind was a prison of past regrets and future anxieties, keeping him trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and frustration. Because of this habit, he had trouble focusing on his studies, maintaining friendships, and enjoying life. His mind was never at peace. One day, a classmate noticed his troubled state and suggested, "Go talk to our philosophy professor. He has helped many students find clarity in their lives. Maybe he can help you too." Desperate for relief, the student decided to visit the professor after class. The student explained his problem to the wise professor, sharing how his thoughts kept circling around old mistakes and painful memories. The professor listened patiently, nodded, and then, without saying a word, got up from his chair and walked toward the faculty lounge. The student felt confused. Was the professor ignoring him? Did he not have an answer? Still, he waited. A few moments later, the professor returned, holding a small, thin notebook in his hand. Standing in front of the student, he asked, "Tell me, how heavy do you think this notebook is?" The student thought for a moment and replied, "Not much, maybe a few 100 grams." The professor nodded and then asked, "What will happen if I hold this notebook in my hand for a minute?" "Nothing," the student replied. "And what if I hold it for an hour?" The professor asked again. "Your hand will start to ache," the student said. The professor smiled. "Now, what if I hold it like this for an entire day?" The student replied seriously. "Your arm will go numb. Your muscles will tense up, and eventually you might even lose feeling in your hand." The professor's smile widened. "Exactly. But did the weight of the notebook change?" "No," the student answered. "Then why does it cause pain?" the professor asked. The student thought for a moment and then said, "Because you are holding on to it for too long." The professor gently placed the notebook on the desk and said, "That's exactly how life's problems work. Difficult situations, failures, and hurtful words are like this notebook. If you think about them for a short while, nothing happens. But if you keep holding on to them for hours, they start to hurt. If you carry them with you for days, they become unbearable, making your mind tired and your life miserable." The professor continued, "It's important to acknowledge your past mistakes and learn from them, but holding on to them for too long will only bring suffering. Just like you need to put the notebook down. To relieve the pain, you need to let go of unnecessary mental burdens to regain peace in life. If you keep revisiting painful memories and overthinking situations that are already in the past, you're doing nothing but harming yourself. Your mind is like your hand. It can only hold so much before it gives up." The student looked down, absorbing the lesson. He realized that all this time, he had been carrying the weight of past mistakes and negative thoughts, refusing to let them go. "But Professor, how do I learn to put it down?" he asked. The professor replied, "Whenever your mind gets stuck on a negative thought, remind yourself, this is just a notebook. I can choose to put it down. Shift your focus to what truly matters. Instead of replaying the past, ask yourself, what can I do today to make things better?" That is the key to a peaceful mind. The student smiled for the first time in a long while. "Thank you, Professor. I think it's time I put my notebook down." The professor nodded. That's the first step toward a lighter, happier life. We often carry unnecessary mental burdens, dwelling on the past, regrets, and things beyond our control. But just like holding a heavy object for too long, these thoughts only exhaust us. Acknowledge your mistakes, but don't let them define you. Learn from the past, but don't live in it. Let go of thoughts that no longer serve you. The past is out of your hands, but the future is still in your control. So ask yourself, what notebook are you still holding on to? If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. If you're ready to put your notebook down, share this lesson with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more powerful life lessons. Thank you for connecting with Epic Inspire Stories. Stay blessed.